All right, seeing we have quorum, I will start the Airport Commission meeting at 4:02 p.m. Commissioners attending remotely, could you please acknowledge yourselves?
Greg Shepler, Burlington.
Connor Daly, Winooski.
Thank you both. We now move on to item 2, which is the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the contents of the agenda as proposed?
So moved.
That's moved by Helen. Is there a second?
Second.
That's a second by Connor. Any discussion or proposed changes to the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have an agenda. Item 3 is public forum. Who's?
We have someone in the room and Justin.
All right, go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name is Jeff Nicholson. I'm a resident of South Burlington, Vermont, and work at the airport here in Burlington, have for quite a long time. According to the letter I got of the pandemic, I'm an essential part of our nation's critical transportation infrastructure, which I assume we all are. I'm here because that helped me learn what infrastructure was. I could share planes, but it doesn't do any good unless everybody else is doing everything else, and that includes all forms of transportation, including our bus. I don't know what you guys are gonna do about the bus. They're gonna cancel our bus. First, they're gonna stop running it as much, and then they're gonna not have the bus at all anymore. And I don't think you have a critical transportation since the airport's not connected to all that bus. So that's my thing. I know there are not a huge number of people to fill up buses, but a lot of the workers here depend on the bus. I know a discussion with you guys before was when we were talking about employee parking about something was we think we meant like they try to get people to ride the bus. All of that's true, all that stuff's always been true. It's not gonna happen if there's not a bus. So I was hoping that you guys are jumped in on it. You're gonna tell me you got it under control and don't worry about it, but maybe we're not that far along and maybe you guys should get jumped in on it. That's what I'd like to see. So I know there's history to these things. Way back even before I was here, the airport sponsored the bus for a little while. The numbers that everybody on the mall, there was some hurt feelings and such. I know you guys used to run a thing to the old park and ride when we first got the park and ride. That was kind of a bus. Buses are part of the airport, and I'd like to see if you guys could be willing to take some responsibility for that part of our transportation system that serves us here. And I know that there's probably negotiations going on all over the place that I have nothing to do with, and hopefully you guys have the connections to be into that. And that Tom Chittens is working on some stuff in South Burlington. I don't know how South Burlington and the airport, whether you both would have the same things in mind, but I think we really, really need a bus. I know Thomas mentioned that for getting passengers on the bus, since your busiest time is 4 in the morning and late at night, that's gonna be tough because it doesn't get to the bus. Some of our workers have the same thing. Some of these airplanes are running later and later in the day, so that we're now getting out of the evening, early night, late evening, and that's when they're trying to trim the bus back from. So a lot of us are not gonna be able to take the bus over that. And I don't know what you guys can do about it, but I hope you guys would do something about it. I would add that it would not surprise me, although I'm not gonna speak that out of this room until the time comes, if you guys had to chip into that, and maybe there's a way to do that. But I would like a reassurance that you guys are gonna work on it, we're not gonna lose our bus, and that the bus is gonna be part of the growth of this system and not a hindrance to it or a subtraction from it, because we should be having more people on the bus. It's gonna be hard, this is a car-centric community, people are not gonna all get on the bus to go get on the airplane. So your numbers are never gonna say, oh, we have huge numbers, therefore your $2 is gonna pay for the bus, but we need to have a bus, even if it doesn't pay, even if it costs us some money, we gotta have a bus here at the airport. You can't have an airport without an airport bus. And it's our connection, the connected transportation system, right? This connects to the downtown transit center, connects to the Amtrak bus. It's the one bus they're using to run all this stuff, and all of us that are in the transportation system ought to be working on that bus. So I know this is not a place where you're supposed to respond to me. I'd be happy to hear anything, but I will be back. One of the bus meetings and stuff like that. I'm hoping to get you guys on board one way or another.
All right.
That's all I need.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, Commissioner Airplanes, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, and Justin, if you can introduce yourself, please. Oh, so, yes, Justin, can you introduce yourself, please?
No, Justin is with Skinny Pancake.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
Connor had his hand up.
Oh, I was just going to mention to the gentleman, just thank you for coming and encourage him to attend the open forums that are happening right now for the GMT projected cuts. So that's all I was going to say.
there is one more person that.
Okay, and Mike, if you can introduce yourself, please.
I don't know if he wants.
Unless-
Want to speak, but.
It's click out and hit allow stop.
Hello, Mike, are you there? Mike, you're on mute. No, Mike Bowie, correctly. Are you there, Mike?
He didn't have his hand up, so he might not want.
Okay. All right, well, then if we don't hear from Mike, we'll close down public forum, move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Do I hear, be willing to entertain a motion to approve the contents of the consent agenda?
So moved.
That's moved by Helen. Is there a second?
A second.
That's second by Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fair enough. We move on to item 5, which is a concessionaire update, which will be broken into 2 parts. The first part is Nick with a general update.
Yeah, I'm gonna be brief and then I'm gonna introduce an amazing partner of ours with Skinny Pancake. I wanted to give the commission, especially based on the last month's conversation, just a quick general update on our existing concessionaires and the partnerships that we have with Hudson News and Skinny Pancake. We continue to, of course, increase our passenger numbers. You may have seen in the recent news, which I'll get to in the director's report, that we continue to grow, our numbers continue to grow, and those same passenger numbers are neck and neck with our revenue numbers for the airport, and that is both on the Skinny Pancake and Hudson News side, which is our 2 non-rental car concessionaire revenues. We're doing really well. We've increased both the physical capacity, the physical space. We've partnered specifically with Skinny Pancake on making really great improvements. I don't want to steal anything that Benji is going to be talking about. We're also doing the same thing with Hudson News. As you, just a reminder, we did extend the Hudson News contract in agreement for their expansion and their investment into the airport. They continue to plan and are projected to start construction on the North Concourse renovation in the spring of 25. All of that is really good, but what we want to do is what's next, what's coming down the pipeline, and how can we improve our customer experience with requests from our passengers as that continues to grow. So about a month ago, we did go out to RFP for an additional concessionaire at the airport. This was a smaller space, not a large scale restaurant or news and gifts style store, but a smaller space, especially within our new terminal building on the 2nd floor to accommodate more space. Happy to report that we have opened multiple bids of that RFP process. The team is in the middle of scoring those proposals, and we are really hoping to come back to you next month to introduce what might be a new negotiated contract and new space for, again, the upstairs of our new building that's that we opened about a year and a half ago. Lots of work to do on that, both from a physical infrastructure standpoint as well as a little bit of negotiation. And yeah, we're really excited to see more capacity, more options, and addressing some of our passenger needs. With that, again, we have a really great existing partnership with Skinny Pancake, and I'll let Benji take it away, but this is the owner of Skinny Pancake, Benji Adler.
Hi, Al.
Hi.
I have a small PowerPoint, nothing fancy, but just thought there's a few data points that would be helpful. I did prepare some notes. I'm just gonna go, not read it word for word, but I just wanna make sure I cover all my bases here. So while you get that up, I'll just start going. So we met in early September, Nick, Jeff, and I. They expressed some concerns, their valid concerns. I offered to speak with and meet with the commission, and appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, so thank you. I want to be clear, I feel it's our responsibility to be transparent and available to you to address concerns. I want to highlight our progress today. And I know regardless of progress, we need to produce results. In case it is a question to any of you, it is a huge privilege for us to be here. Do not take that for granted. As we play a very important part and role in the experience of the guest here. We are respectively food service ambassadors for all of Vermont, for people coming and going. And we are eager to shine in this role. I don't think we have shined just in post-pandemic. It has been a struggle. I think we are coming out of that, and there's data to demonstrate that. I'd like to take a few short minutes and talk about that challenge that we faced. And thankfully, I'm talking to you really at what I believe is the end of the arc of that struggle. But yeah, so why do can I do the clicking? All right. So a little graph, if you can read that, that's our hours. We have a biweekly payroll, and that's our hours, line level hours of labor by year, going back to the beginning, 2021, as we are coming out of the pandemic. It has been an extremely challenging environment to staff up. We've adapted repeatedly to the changing workforce, the changing industry. During a period of historic unemployment, we saw, I've never seen turnover in my career like we have. I believe we're good employers. Everyone can make that decision for themselves. We try, we aspire. We will demonstrate to you that, in many ways on paper we are. There was line level instability. It caused some leadership instability. We maintained the core of our team. Some people, for a variety of reasons, we saw turnover there too. People burnt out. People carried us through the pandemic and then decided they wanted to do the next thing in their life. It's been a very hard time. I'm pleased to report that our leadership is not only fully stable, I know it's the best it's ever been. It's taken this much time to rebuild it. And the results of the team that we have right now are just beginning to emerge. You'll see it here nonetheless. In addition to just a shocking amount of challenge around turnover, it's the thing they call the great job through some of these years. There's just a change in culture around call outs. There is still COVID. People do call out for COVID. I had COVID. I had 2 months ago, and I had to isolate. Right? People still do that. There is some call outs. It's hard to know whether they're all legitimate. And in food service, I'm sure this happens in other industries, you get into a vicious cycle where you have a double-edged sword. You either hold people accountable who seem to be calling out too frequently, and then you further reduce your labor pool, or you don't hold them accountable, and it creates permission structure for them to continue to do that. When you're fully staffed, you can hold people accountable. We should always hold them accountable. It's just human nature on the line level that it's hard to enforce that. So as you can see from this graph, we have been making year-over-year progress. 2024, there's just sustained higher levels of staffing. We've over the course of sort of a quarterly period of time, we've set a strategy. We've tried to make it effective. At times, it's been effective. And then you can see it's often in the fourth quarter at the end of the summer. We can pick up staff for the summer, and then it has fallen off. We've had different people trying to hire. We had an individual last fall who kept, frankly, often kept telling us he had the staff he needed, and we kept telling him he didn't, and that did end in his leaving the company. We brought someone in this year, and you can see the effect he had at the beginning of 2024. That is our
recording in progress.
Director of operations. This is our director of operations here at the airport. He did achieve results on hiring, and he also we still needed to take it further. I'm pleased to report that we are currently scheduled to open in both north and south terminals every day moving forward, not using summer staff that are college students, not using an administrative team that we can use occasionally, but we can't just insert an entire team, like everything else will fall apart and then we wouldn't, you can imagine, right? So we have used those techniques repeatedly and persistently. We are now fully staffed for the two terminals. We are staffed so that we can absorb 2 call-outs per meal period and still maintain both outlets. So we have redundancy. We had 4 call-outs one shift last week, and that shift we were not able to staff up. That is me being transparent. I don't need to raise your awareness of that reality, but that's what that is the work we're doing, working through. The kiosk is set to open next week, unless, I believe that full time. We've been working on bringing someone in to specifically dedicatedly own that location. We have a AGM. We are working on bringing an additional salaried manager onto the team. So we're still hiring both to further overstaff in anticipation of turnover and call-outs. But we are open in both terminals full-time at this point, and the kiosk should be open full-time starting next week.
Where will the kiosk be?
As in downstairs, the pre.
Oh,
is
okay.
small.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the one in the lobby. kind of.
Yeah, right as you go to the.
I didn't realize it
TSA.
was called a kiosk, but that makes sense.
I want to share a few things about our hiring process and our compensation process. These are some facts and data around our compensation. Our front of house average $32 an hour plus, our back of house average $25 an hour plus, and our lowest wage in the last pay period was over $22 an hour. We offer more than 50% healthcare match. We offer everyone here gets 12 days of paid vacation at 4% 401k match that starts out a year. We have a farm share match. We have an employee assistance program with a huge suite of services, such as you can get like I believe it's a dozen free therapy sessions. So we compared to most food service employers, we have an unusually quality benefits package, and these rates are above average compensation, in food service in this area.
Benji, can I just add one quick thing on that? Since Skinny Pancake has been here, as we all know, and if you don't know, the city of Burlington does have a livable wage ordinance with minimum rates. Skinny Pancake has consistently been above those livable wage standards, even though they are not subject to that ordinance, because that's specific to service providers to the airport. Rather than concessionaires like this, and that's been a consistent message for since you've been here.
Well, yeah, I appreciate mentioning that. The 12 days of paid vacation, for example, was something we did both to match that expectation, the livable wage ordinance for Burlington, even though we're not obliged to do it. We also recognize that the airport it's a hard environment to be employed in, so it also is complementary to creating retention. Our approach to hiring, we use really a top tier applicant tracking software called Workstream to ensure clear communication with applicants and between our team while working on hiring. So when you have turnover constantly and you're like it gets confusing, we call it in a kitchen, if you're buried in tickets, you call it being in the weeds. And so this software allows us, it facilitates the posting of ads across 13 different job boards. It also allows our leadership to monitor and ensure people that are charged with hiring are responsive to applicants and actively pursuing that hiring process, because we can pay for ads all we want, but if someone isn't doing the work that they said they did, this allows us to see that they are communicating directly with potential applicants, and that has been very helpful for us to hold our teams accountable. Or sometimes someone's like, I'm drowning, I can't do this. And we're able to step in and help. So we have a hiring support team for the leader and operator here, with the director of operations, the director of HR, and executive chef. all of whom have supported the hiring process here during this period of challenge. We have an in-house, we have spent over $44,000 in the trailing 12 months alone on 4 hire ads at BTV alone. In addition to that, we have an in-house referral bonus program that is actually one of the more effective ways to bring people in. And when all of the above would not get us where we needed to be, we ended up bringing in a third-party recruiter this year. That was a first for us. It's proven effective. We brought 4 line-level employees in September with that third-party recruiter. I also I do this because I want to demonstrate our transparency. Debated whether or not to share this with you. But part of staffing appropriately is also removing people who are ineffective. We have done that here at the airport. We've made some very aggressive moves around people who are not meeting the standard we needed to achieve our goal. I think I'll leave it at that, but if any of you wanted to talk about the specific people, we had people who did not perform up to expectations, and we had to ask them to leave this position here at the airport. People we hired, we trained properly, we vetted properly, and they just, for one reason or another, were not up to the task. It takes some time to see that, and when you see it, you either let that person linger and impact everything else, or you do the hard. So that is all part of building a team in a challenging environment. I think that was important because if you see, well, there's sophisticated, thoughtful work going on behind the scenes to get us where we need to go. It's been relentless pursuit. I also, I wanted to introduce everyone here to Justin. Justin Cahill I believe he's here. Justin is our Director of Operations. Justin has a proven career in multi-unit management, which is its own specialty. We started this year knowing we had a deficit in our leadership, and we were looking for a regional manager for Chapin County. Justin accepted the job after a vetting process and hiring process in early March. He began training full-time after relocating. I gave him a month's notice. He was by mid-April, he was training. By late May, he was fully present. He's kind enough to allow us to share the fact that he was just hitting his stride in late June. We had a meeting. We were very excited to say this guy's really the missing piece. We needed to come in strong. And he had an unanticipated and acute health issue that he needed to stop working for 7 weeks in the middle of the summer. And that was a hardship for him more than anyone else. It impeded our ability to do what we needed to do this summer. Justin is back. He's in full health. He's been around for 6 weeks or something like that. And the changes we've seen, the impact is, I've been doing this for 20 years. I have not seen someone like him show up in our company. We also, as part of this, when he came back, he was promoted to the Director of Operations. So he is not the regional manager of the company. He is the Director of Operations for the company as a whole, living in Chittenden County. So he's here. He could say hello. If you have any specific questions for him, I thought it, as a matter of accountability, he should be here. Moving on to beyond hiring, I do want to emphasize that despite all of that, we have other parts of the company that have been working to improve our operations here at the airport. This spring, we did this $24,000 investment. It was more than that, but directly in the North Terminal, we both physically expanded our kitchen, and we also brought in a lot of furniture. In addition to that direct spend, we also did a lot of work, I want to say, for the airport and with the airport to help coordinate Engelbert, to do the acquisitions around certain furniture that you own now, and to bring in a local furniture builder who built that gorgeous table. So that if you've seen it, it's like, it's beautiful table. We have also introduced self-order kiosks in the north and south terminal. This is one of those projects that we had just launched early summer. Technology needs constant maintenance, and in the middle of the summer, while we were short a critical employee, it was not working. We've replaced the screens with larger screens. This is a photo currently in the north terminal. There's also, I believe, a sign above that image now above the screen. We also introduced order from phone technology recently. Some of you may know the term QR codes. So you can, in addition to this screen, you can order to go through your phone. These are efforts to address the bottleneck at the line to order. We have, in the same push around technology, we introduced a text to notify technology. So if you place an order to go, you don't have to stand right there waiting for someone to call out your name. You are now getting text. This is short-term data, but the results of primarily being staffed are shown immediately. We are revenues are up 26% in the last 2 weeks. They're up 21% in September. We were up 13.7% in August. I know employments are up. I would like to see, and I believe that our revenues should year-over-year increases should be more than the increase in employment. So I haven't compared that data personally, but that is certainly the goal I would expect, given that last year we were not in full force. Recent progress at BTV. In addition to that, as I mentioned, north and south are fully staffed with the capacity for 2 calls, and we should be open 7 days a week at the kiosk in the north terminal. Looking forward, there's another slide here. Yep, so I mentioned these data points. We are forecasting a 25% increase in sales for 2025 over 2024, or over the trailing 12 months. So we should be around, well, I'll leave it there. I want to focus on, we will be working on throughput issues around lines and bottleneck. We've introduced sort of by phone technology, and I think there's an opportunity. We'll be looking at putting one of these QR codes at the kiosk for security, so you can place an order and make it at post security. We'll be looking at menu adaptations to improve our throughput. Some items, there's pickup time, as we say in the industry, will jam up our ability to get food out the door. We are still pursuing additional hiring, as I mentioned, that assistant general manager candidate. So yeah, I think 2019 was our peak year of revenues of the Skinny Pancake here at BTV. My personal goal is that in 2025 we would exceed that. As long as the payments are tracking, we should be able to. So there it is. That's what I share with you today. I think Justin and I are both here to answer any questions, or if you have any requests for go and do work and come back and report back, and we're here to please.
Great, thank you, Benji. Commissioners, any questions for Benji, or specifically with regard to Skinny Pancake, or Nick in general for concessionaires? I think Greg, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, thanks for that thorough explanation, Benji. Appreciate it. Been a fan of the Skinny since the original opening in Montpelier. Again, thanks for the transparency. And I'm glad that the Skinny Pancake brings the full enchilada in terms of employee compensation and benefits. It's a very generous package there. You also mentioned that the staffing difficulties make sense. I imagine that the early morning times at the airport can be the most challenging to fill. That's just a guess. Maybe that's not the case. But I'm just wondering that if you offer some sort of pay bump for people at that time as an additional incentive. And then I have a follow-up for Nick or Jeff also.
We do not currently offer a pay bump. There is an inherent one because we do more volume and they make more in tips in the front of house. And we also have a back of house revenue share. So the back of house makes more money when they are working the morning shift because that's where there is more volume. Typically early morning hours are the more challenging time to fill. Just recently, that hasn't been the case. We've been working on filling afternoon hours, so I'm talking the last couple months.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow up for Nick or Jeff. I'm not sure the best person to take this. And I would encourage Benji to consider a pay bump, by the way, too, especially with the projected revenues that he mentioned. But that's obviously he has the prerogative in terms of doing that. That's just the time frame that we've heard some complaints, Benji, just so you're aware of that. Nick and Jeff, I'm just wondering if we can be a team player here. I've enjoyed seeing some of the commercials about the Burlington Airport experience. They're short, they're lively and such. Wondering if we can maybe add just a little piece that might help both of us. Maybe there's something on there within those ads that say running late. Order by phone app exists for the skinny pancake. And just a 5-10 second blurb on there might appeal to people because everyone feels like they're running late when they're going to the airport and everyone's worried about a meal. Maybe those two things can complement each other. Thank you.
Great. Those are great ideas, Greg, and I see Jeff shaking his head too, and I think no doubt in our minds that we can do something like that. That also, I mean, some of this stuff just got started, and that also ties into some other initiative outside of Skinny Pancake that I think would tie nicely, and that's our parking garage system, which we're also going to be able to pay via phone and those types of things. So that is a great task that is now directed towards Jeff.
Pile it on.
But really good thoughts, yeah.
Go ahead, Connor.
Oh yeah, thank you, Benji, for being here. This has been really helpful. And no shade to Greg, but my personal favorite location is the waterfront. And thank you very much for sharing these numbers too. Actually, I had a question about the comp in the front of house piece, but that it was answered through Greg's question about like the tips, so that makes total sense. I guess my question is, have you had similar staffing? I know this is an industry problem right now, especially in Vermont. Have you had similar staffing challenges at like your other locations? And if so, like what has worked and what hasn't worked?
Yeah, well, there have generally been staffing challenges throughout the entire industry. Certain towns are easier to staff than others. Chittenden County is a really difficult place right now. I think people, not everyone remembers back to the days of Necky, but that was actually a major way that we brought food service employees to the area. And then with the increase in cost in housing, it's really pushed out people who would earn the kind of money you'd earn in this industry. The thing that works more than anything else when it comes to staffing food service is good leadership. That's it. It's good leadership. If you have good leadership, and unfortunately it's the whole package. So when we have a lot of really good, incredibly dedicated people, but if you don't have the right person in every seat on the bus, it's like running a 6-cylinder engine with one piston on fire. The engine's going to run rough, and that's where we had poaching. There's aggressive poaching that happened on leadership level, and other people burnt out, and other people had done long tenures, and they said, the pandemic's over, I'm ready to do the next thing. We have been relentless about building the team back up. We have the team, and you will see. I mean, it's starting already, but it is discouraging to have so many good people and know that these one or two missing links are, you know, because we can step in and hold their place, but then something, you know, something else is gonna give. So that's it's the only real trick, great leadership.
It's true of everything, huh?
Thank you so much for that. And just one quick thing, as an expert in compensation, I would like to just reinforce Greg's point about the early morning bump. Thanks.
Yeah, I will absolutely bring that back to my team. I mean, as I said, there's an inherent one that is happening. Heard, I respect your comments. We'll look at it with our team.
I have a quick question, just to kind of piggyback, I guess on Greg, I don't know, I can't remember, I think the advertising, I'm not sure everyone knows that both spots are open and that the kiosk will be, and I think including that in an outreach to the public, so people coming to the airport can say, oh, okay, there's 2 spots and there's a kiosk. So that might be a little bit of help. And then I just wanted to ask you a question relative to the public speaker about the bus transportation. Do you have any idea how many of your employees rely on that bus to get here? Or is it just the hours are so crazy, the bus doesn't run at 4 AM if that's when you need to be here? I'm just curious, just to sort of get some more data out there to encourage.
I don't have a fully informed answer this time. I certainly can check and report back on how many of our staff use the bus. I think I do recall that, yeah, because the bus doesn't run at 4 AM.
Yeah,
People for that early morning shift have to be able to get themselves here.
right, okay. I was just curious if there was any feedback, like I'd love to work here, but I can't get there.
In the morning, that is an issue. So
So it impacts really. But, and I appreciate all your comments. Thank you.
I have a few questions, and actually it's a great segue to mine. You know, I think I agree with a lot of things that you've said about staffing and the challenges and how to retain staff and the best ways to do that. So focusing narrowly on the locations that you have here versus your other locations, what do you see as any particular benefits or challenges of staffing at the airport versus staffing at the other locations that you have?
Yeah, like off the cuff, there's better compensation here. The bartenders in particular, it's kind of wild, big compensation. Some people do enjoy the travelers experience. So I think we do have some very long-term employees. And what tends to happen is we bring people in, it's a longer process to get anyone in. So there's this barrier to entry because you have to get badged. And there's a round of training around that. And so that's 2 weeks delay, approximately before you can be in there with a temporary badge, but it's kind of an uncomfortable experience. You have to be 50 feet away from your chaperone at all times or less. We see historically like 1 in 3 people don't make it, a month or 2, like especially the early morning people. They get into the cadence of super early morning, they're like, I was wrong, I can't do this. So certainly the early morning hours are a challenge for some. I think once people find their place here, they actually really, we see a lot of turnover in the short term. Then we have some multi-year employees here that are comfortable. It becomes a vicious cycle where if we're understaffed and there are throughput issues and our menu is limited or the south terminal is closed, people start guests start being less friendly, and it's hard to be in hospitality. I think that also happens just in general. People are anxious, they're nervous, it's not the same friendly, relaxed experience you'd have in a normal restaurant where people are there to recreate. So I think we do see at times there's a certain type of guest that is much less friendly. They don't necessarily understand the Vermont way, our food is not cheap by Kentucky standards, as someone recently from Kentucky pointed out,
Right out loud.
they're comparing us to
Airports are
McDonald's,
expensive everywhere.
and we don't look cheap, and so then they're not friendly about that. So there's a contingent of guests that are not friendly. That's our job. That's our job to receive them and make them feel better about their day and about us. But that can be hard. That's me shooting from the hip on benefits and challenges at the airport, but a full thorough answer would be best answered by surveying the staff.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm just looking for the high points, anecdotal evidence as well. And then then building on that, in terms of turnover, do you have a greater rate of turnover at the airport than you do at your other locations, or is it the reverse?
Yeah, no, I think I just spoke to that. What we see here is that there's turnover that happens in the first 30 to 60 days here that doesn't happen somewhere else because they get into it and this is different, and then they're like, not for me on that one, especially with the early morning hours. But I know that we have some very long term.
But if they stick with it, you have lower turnover than your other locations.
I think that's true. We love the data, so I'm curious to look, but I know, I think that is the case, that we end up with 3 to 5 year employees that stay with us here once they find their groove.
And then my last question is, you had a chart up earlier that was showing labor hours.
Yeah.
Just curious what, now that you're about to be fully up to staff when the kiosk opens, how did the labor hours that you're seeing for sort of Q4 of 2024 stack up against 2019? Are you all the way back? Are you almost all the way back? What are you thinking?
Again, speaking anecdotally, but there is data that I could look at. I would think it should be parallel, right? The operations haven't changed that much. Fully automatic espresso machines, that's, but I think we would, I'd have to look, we'll be at a.
In your general sense is you're in the ballpark of where you were.
Yes, right, yes, in the ballpark where we were, it's somewhere around, when we're really stuffed full of staff, we're around 2,000 labor hours, or 1,000 labor hours, that's what it looks like.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners, any last questions for Benji or Nick on this topic? All right, well, thank you, Benji, for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
See you all. Thanks for
changes and leadership.
Cool, well, looking forward, we will see it, and it's happening.
That's
More, yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we will now move on to item 6, which is the financial update. Marie.
Thank you and hello, commissioners. So what you have before you today is you have the financial information, our revenues or expenses through August. And then I also did prepare for you the cash balances and the AFP receivable through the end of last week when I was preparing this, since the 30th was this Monday, but I have to do that a couple days ahead of that. So our revenues have been continue to be a little bit higher than last year. They're doing really well. I would say, particularly where we continue to see really strong revenues are in the garage and the car rental concessions. This is a little in addition to that, but I was looking to see our revenues on parking garage this past September, which we just ended, were about $65,000 over last year, about a $14,000 increase. So you'll see that reflected in next month. But we continue to have those revenues continue to be fairly strong. And our landing revenues, we're also seeing those revenues trending up. We had a lot more operations this year, and that's being reflected in the billings that we are now putting out. The garage, we have higher expenses, so it's good that we have more revenue because a lot of this is planned. We knew that the repair and maintenance in the garage is continuing. We're trying to wrap up that project, the lighting, the huge lighting repair that we've been doing throughout the entire garage, which has been, a multi-year project, and updating the fire alarm system. We're coming within a couple of weeks of wrapping that up. So will be, continuing to pay off that contract for the work that they've done. We're also doing some joint repair replacement that is going on in the garage right now. So there are some sections that they're working on, and that's going on. As well as I try to let you know, we are more fully staffed, appropriately staffed. And even though we have a few positions that are still open, but as we knew and as we anticipated, both because we have more staff, but also just in general, the higher costs of benefits, the higher costs with the contract of costs, COLAs and stuff, our salaries are running. You're going to see that consistently. They're going to run higher year over year. Our cash update, we actually had $7.3 million in the bank as of Friday. So that went up significantly. What happened in September is a slew of grants were able to be signed. We got the grant offers, and then we were able to go ahead and sign those grants. And the FAA they have to, once we sign, everybody signs off, name's dry. Then there's a process where they load it on the back end. It's called Delphi system, and that allows me to go and do reimbursements. The FAA also closes down like September 18th. They close down in anticipation of the federal fiscal year, and they close that system. We can't put any request in. So we had a flurry of requests go in as the grants got signed, and it opened up in these in the Delphi system. And I had, about a week to get everything uploaded, but we brought in quite a bit of money. So that was a good thing. We were reimbursing ourselves for these grants for planning and other things that we had done. We got about $1.9 million on design work that we had done on the next project. So, significant monies. We still have a high number of grants that are going on. So the receivable number still, is always in flux. And so those are sort of the big highlights from this month's financial report. And I will entertain any and all questions that you may have.
All right, commissioners, any questions for Marie? Go ahead, Kyle.
All right, thanks, Marie. This has been wonderful. I'm the new guy, right? So I was just curious. Is there a certain reserve fund, or is that reflected in these numbers, or is that what the bank account means? I'm just curious.
We do. So there's a lot of information on the cash report. If you look on the cash report, it looks like, wow, there's a whole lot of money. But we have, so the way that I try to structure it, and if this is a good reminder, Connor, and thank you for reminding me that you may have more questions, and I welcome any and all questions anytime. But I structure the report to show at the very top unrestricted cash. So that is where you're going to see we'll call it our operating bank account,
right.
And we call it our AIP deposit account, but those two are monies that are available to us to pay our bills.
Yeah.
Restricted bank accounts, we have a lot of, we have what's called the CFC account, which is related to the car rental. So it's the customer facility charge. We have a bank account that when our car rental companies pay us each month, it goes in that account. It does not get commingled with our regular fund, with our regular monies. And
right.
Those we have, based on the contracts we have with the car rental agencies, we're allowed to use that money specifically. We have, we can use it for different reasons, but we have to use it that way. And then we have another account called the PFC accounts. We have two accounts related to the passenger facility charges. So this is a charge that goes on every single ticket. That when somebody is flying, I always want to say this backwards, flying into Burlington. Flying out of Burlington, oh my gosh, it's been a long week. But flying out of Burlington, then we get this charge on every enplanement. So it's good for us. We have to request of the FAA that we have to get the authorization to make this charge, and then we fill out applications to spend the money. It's very restricted. We cannot touch this unless we have had an application that's approved, and then we can spend it. So the reason you see the balance in there is we have it approved to pay off remaining debt that we have. We have a certain amount of it that is still eligible for the debt, and a few other projects. So, and then below that, we've got all of you'll see a whole, a slew of, I think there's 6 accounts in there. Those are all that we have with our bonds. We have certain stipulations. We have an operating and maintenance account. We're putting money aside monthly. That money is going aside to 1/12 of the upcoming principal payment, which we pay once a year. 1/6 of the upcoming interest payment, which we pay twice a year. So we have all of these accounts that are reserved. We cannot touch them other than for the very specific purpose that they have. So they are there, and we fund them appropriately according to the bond covenants. Those get audited, and we have to, show what we're doing, and that's correct. So those are the biggest. And then the bottom, I just show how we compare over the last few years with our cash balances, just for some perspective. Gives everybody a sense of how we're doing here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hopefully.
What's that?
Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Like above and beyond GAAP, every organization reports financials differently, so this is super helpful. And yes, I agree. It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday, folks.
No. And I'm not sure if it's you or Nick or both of you, but, and I can't remember the date, but a number of years ago, the city of South Burlington negotiated with Burlington about the property taxes.
I look at that all the time.
Well, but, I'm just curious, it's soon to come to an end.
It's about 4 years away.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I
I
think
just
we
didn't
had that
know.
conversation maybe 6 or 12 months ago, going, boy, it feels like it's almost been 10 years.
Yeah, seems like it to me.
Yeah.
No, you have 4 more years.
We can
Okay.
get we can get you the date on that, but I believe it's like 3 or 4 years from now,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to put that out for
Yeah.
the council or the commission, because most of you weren't on the commission, and that was negotiated. And personally, I hope we can continue with that kind of negotiation, but I'm not on the council anymore. I don't recall if they have been in discussion at all. But it was an important agreement because things kind of hit the fan for a while.
Yeah, 6, 7 years ago, yeah. I can tell you, we have had conversations with leadership of South Burlington to make sure that that's on the future year's agenda. And obviously, we don't wanna start the negotiations in the last year, but maybe a year or two prior to.
No, but just thinking about what would be a good way to base those conversations.
Agree on the approach in a way.
Pardon me?
To agree on the approach of how.
So I think that would be helpful, or at least to understand if the city has a slightly different approach. It would be good to know, so maybe you can figure that out and have it go smoothly.
That's right.
More
It's
smooth,
important.
more smooth.
It's fairly smooth, once. It's certainly important to the city of South Burlington, and it's very important to the airport
That's
to,
right.
have that as a consistent or predictable number, I suspect. That's always nice in a budget.
Right, for both. For both
Yes, oh,
parties.
yes, exactly.
Right, and that they're, that they're reasonable and fair to always make sure that we are contributing to being here and contributing to the cost of services.
Sure. Okay,
Good, thank you. Yeah, no, we think about that. Yeah, our taxes today are, I think on the budget, it's like $850,000 a year, but it was higher than that. We go back to 2016, 2017, it was well over $1 million. So just to give you some perspective. Great point.
And we'll move on to item 7, which is the construction update from Larry.
Great, good afternoon, everybody. I only have 2 highlights, which we already touched on one. The 7 grants we received were fully executed since we met last. And as Marie reported, she only had 7 days to get all that information into the FAA to get that money back. So it was quite an effort for her. And obviously, a good job on that. The other highlight is, or even update, because I didn't have it when I wrote this, is the bids were received for the Burlington Tech Center. The low bid was 8.8 million, which was well within budget, and the high bid was not much more than that. There were 4 bidders. There were 8 bidders pre-qualified for bid, And which I guess we can look at this year as a lot better than what we've seen in past years with predicting what the costs are gonna be for this. So hopefully that continues into next year.
And just as a reminder, this is not something the airport is contracting with, this is something that the Burlington School District is contracting. So this contract with that low bidder would not be coming to the commission or anything like that.
We're just facilitating it.
The school-
No, we're not even facilitating
Okay.
any of our, we're completely out of the picture of this development. We've signed a building and ground lease with the school district and now they're developing and improving their facility.
And I don't know for sure, but I believe it was last night they went to the school board to get approval of the contractor they were gonna hire.
Is it 10 million, is it?
They're 10 million
In grants, yeah, 10 in grants, and their part of their proposal to us was they were gonna be putting $11 million into the facility. So 10 in grants, and they have some sort of reserve account that they use it for this.
And there were some add and deduct alts of, with respect to the 8.8 million, so it'll probably end up being a little bit more than that, because they're gonna be able to do more than what they thought, so it's good. Yeah.
And you might be recalling that, we had a grant from many years ago that we had some monies left, over
Right.
$600,000. And we were able to use this to help with the design work that was working collectively with the school and what they needed and what they were, looking to do on that. So that was really helpful to them as that process.
Which is also funding all the permitting too.
And to us, because those funds, those cash funds have been a point of conversation on our annual audits with our auditors, that we need to make sure we're utilizing them for the appropriate reasons, so.
They were restricted
They
and
were
how we
restricted,
could use them.
And we're able to draw those down to support this project.
Did we spend all 600,000?
Not quite all of it, but we're getting pretty close to it.
Planning is expensive, isn't it?
Very,
Along with the permit, I mean, that's quite expensive too.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed, we have these planning grants and it's, $1.3 million for this,
yeah,
800,000 for that, which is real money,
and we're lucky that we can afford it to do those extra planning efforts ahead of even receiving a grant or any other funding sources. This could be a whole nother conversation on housing and other development, because that's
Yes.
part of it, right?
I have another obligation, so I'd like to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
So other than that, the report speaks for itself. If anybody has any questions, gladly answer.
Commissioners, any follow-up questions for Larry? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 8, the noise compatibility program update.
Okay, so, as the highlights here are, we had reported that there were some issues, or not issues, or conversations with the FAA with a new standard for acoustical testing for grants we'd already received, which would have turned our acoustical testing budget upside down. We've got that finally resolved with the FAA, and it won't be turned upside down for the grants in which we've already received, so we're able to move forward. I think there were 16 homes we're gonna build, we're on hold because for about 34 of them, we're now able to move forward with those because we've got that resolved. So that's the item, a good item that happened over the last month. We
So
did.
does that keep us in budget then, or are the new changes?
So what'll happen now is when we apply for the next grant, we will consider these new testing requirements, and that they'll be budgeted that way as we apply for grants moving forward.
It
Okay.
will be more expensive.
It'll be more expensive.
But the current ones, the 34 that were.
Yeah, this was
So
really good
yeah.
news that Larry and the
Okay.
team were able
I
to
just
work
wanna get-
on. If the FAA didn't approve it, it would have delayed the process even longer and cost additional funds. But for the future projects, yes, we have to test generally every single house instead of the sample sizes, so it's gonna add additional planning and cost on it.
And the only other highlight is that the phase 4 grant we applied for, they only funded, well, they funded about $500,000 less than we applied for. which will not really impact anything because of the delay with respect to the 34 homes, so we can keep moving forward. We also are working on the grant application for the DOD money, so it did come a little bit less, but it's not gonna impact how we move forward because of the delay we just had. And as far as the noise exposure map, the draft is in. We are going to present it to the TAC meeting on October 23rd. I think 4 o'clock. We have a night meeting in South Burlington at Chamberlain School to present it at 6:30 on October 23rd. And then in Winooski on October 24th at 6:30 in the evening.
At the Winooski High School.
The Winooski High School. So that's about all I got for.
All right, commissioners, anything for Larry on this topic? All right, we'll move on to item 9, which is the director's report.
All right. I will share my screen real quick and. All right, so we recently had an announcement just yesterday.
Yes.
Yes, and I want to make sure you saw it and heard it. First things first, we're welcoming back Frontier Airlines to our fleet of air carriers that serve the airport. As far as I know, this has been the most air carriers that we've had at the airport serving. At one time, we're not done yet either, so we're still trying to entice a couple of more airline providers to meet some of our demand. But as you can see, it is a competitive route. This is also an exciting time for the airport because we've never really had this much attention from multiple airlines trying to serve, very specifically serve 2 destinations that we already serve. So Breeze Airways is doing absolutely fantastic with us. They do serve both Orlando and Tampa, and this Friday they're gonna start another route for us to Fort Myers. But Frontier, starting December 20th for both of these flights, will also serve Orlando and Tampa. It is the same days as Breeze. They'll be offering between these 2 destinations 7 times a week. So our trajectory and projection for employments and seats continue to grow. This also is a testament to the demand of our area. Orlando and Tampa, specifically the 2 of them combined, are really a major destination for us, and more importantly, we have a lot of leakage to those 2 destinations, meaning people are driving to other airports to fly to these destinations. So this is another way for us to capture our market area directly out of Lake BTV.
And that must include the Montreal area to a great extent.
We actually don't, so it's much more challenging to collect Canadian data for air travel. So most of our leakages does not include the Canadian population. We do of course see Canadian travelers and incorporate as much as the data that we can collect. But the leakage is really just US domestic leakage. Right now, the biggest is Boston. We have 35-ish % within about a 2-hour radius, US radius, that drive to Boston. But again, a lot of those folks are driving to Boston to fly to Orlando or Tampa.
Well, I was just wondering if these this return of Frontier to Orlando and Tampa will be enticing to Montreal.
Yes.
So that's, so that should improve probably the garage.
That's right. That's right.
Eventually you might improve, like revenue or finding a spot.
Revenue, well, both, yeah.
That's 78% of it.
And certainly, that's great.
100%, and I truly do believe that Plattsburgh is and has been a different style airport, a small airport that serves a very niche market, especially on the western side of Montreal. However, I think the Canadian travelers on the eastern townships, this is going to truly add seat capacity, lower rates by adding that competition that's specific to these destinations. And overall, I think it's a great opportunity for not just Canadians, but all of our region. And we have the space, we have the availability. Thank goodness that we have this new building, otherwise we probably wouldn't have been able to do something like this. And that's also a very, very big piece of that. We need to make sure we consistently look at the future of the terminal. Of course, we're starting Project Next, and just as we start shoveling the ground, I want to start planning for whatever we're gonna call the south side of our terminal, which needs to happen. Just like the tax conversation, our hope is by 2030, we really need to continue that, and that's I think 5 years away.
Well, we can call that the step up. You got the next and the step
The
up.
dip, the next, the step up. Alright, so.
So for Frontier, is that seasonal or you think they're
No.
here?
Yeah, that's announced year-round service. I have a feeling that I know what the next question you're gonna ask. We continue to work with them to provide Denver service on a seasonal.
Okay.
Is that your next?
No, but I did have another question, so you're like half right, so.
So prior to Frontier leaving, they did offer seasonal service
Yeah.
between Orlando and Denver. I think that is a really great opportunity for us too, because Denver is also on that high demand list.
Okay. So my question was gonna be, so we know that we cut a break to new airlines when
That's
that's
right.
right. Does the clock start over?
It
with
does.
Frontier? Okay.
It does. So we now have a very formal written incentive program, airline incentive program, or the ACIP program. We love acronyms. There's another acronym that's probably not.
It's not this book, yeah.
Yeah.
All on it.
I won't remember it.
It's called the Air Carrier Incentive Program, and the FAA doesn't require it, but recommends a lot of very specific formalized items that are included in this program. So we spelled them out. We are now 2 years of waived fees. The only fee that's not waived is the PFC charges that Maria was talking about. But everything else is waived to stimulate the market and continue. But they are outside of that timeframe of restarting that clock.
Okay. Okay.
That's great.
We also have more good news today. Do you like my amazing PowerPoint skills with this?
You didn't want to-
I'm kidding. Yeah, but watch this. So USA Today, Jeff and his team have doing an outstanding job making it known that USA Today nominated us within the top 20 small airports. We did this last year as well. We're not part of the selection process. We have no idea if we're gonna be even on this list or not. So this is the second year in a row that we're on this list, and it was announced today, and we are number 5. See, it was good. That was good. I even changed the picture too. So yeah, we're super proud to announce that we are number 5. Again, Jeff and Alex, his team, have been broadcasting it very widely on our social channels, and this is not only selected by USA Today, but then there's a voting process that happens with our community. So I'm happy to report we're number 5. I love our partnership with other regional airports around New England. But I'm also happy to report that Manchester Airport was number 8, we're number 5, which is amazing. And Ted, if you're listening, hello. Winter season, just a quick reminder that it's coming. Dave Carmen wasn't able to join us today, but him and Stacy and Andrew, his 2 managers, and their entire crew, getting ready for the winter season. We really try to strive for October 1st to start to making sure that we're 100% prepared, both on a equipment standpoint, as well as a retraining standpoint. We go through a lot of safety protocols, a lot of re-communication with our airline partners, air traffic control, what are the procedures, what are our letter agreements, and of course, fine tuning every single one of our pieces of equipment, which is pretty much ready to roll. We all know, we've seen snow early in the season before, and we need to be ready to go, which we are. And yeah,
Yes, so just a reminder, the October 12th, we have the Spooktacular Block Party. We're super excited about it. Getting a lot of people expressing interest. We are still missing a couple spots for people who want to be in the dunk tank. All proceeds are going to go to South Burlington Food Shelf. It's $2 per ball. $5 for 3 balls, but if you bring 2 non-perishable items, we'll give you a free ball. We've gotten some cool people interested in being in it. Obviously, we're gonna stick Nick in it, but Colonel Dan Finnegan will be in the dunk tank. Representative Emily Krasnow as well, and then also
everybody knows you in South Burlington.
This is true.
This is an open invitation for the airport commissioners, specifically Connor, Greg, Tim, and Helen, and Robin.
Ironically, I have 5
Water, is it warm or?
I knew it. I knew he was gonna say it.
I'm telling you, cold, it'll be chilly.
We'll won't be hot tub warm, but.
Yeah, it'll be 60-65 degrees outside, so.
And there's
Right.
only one way to find out what the temperature is.
I've done that before.
So yeah, let me know if you have some interest. We have a super awesome plan in the works to reveal the mascot. And for those who are listening, I hope you're paying attention to our social media because there are Easter eggs throughout all of our social media posts of what this mascot is. We got a couple of people on staff who are getting close to figuring out what it is. And so we are setting them on some wild goose chases with that. So we are pretty excited
I'm
about that.
guessing it's not a bunny. Doesn't know it's Easter eggs.
I could just give it away. I don't know. So
Wild goose chase.
wild goose chase.
That could
Could be. But
They fly, right? I mean, could be.
that's true. That is
They
true.
fly long distances.
They do, and to multiple destinations as well.
Absolutely, and they honk.
Anyway, so yeah, from 10 to 11 is the sensory hour. And then from 11 to 4 is when the event occurs. We have a costume contest at 1. Pool 105 is participating, Janitech is participating, and then the mascot reveal, which is no longer a parade, is happening at 2 o'clock. And if you enjoyed the spectacular of the unveiling of the logo, I think we're gonna top it with this. So. Is it bad, man?
Pardon me? Is it that?
Yeah, but the licensing was too expensive on that, so.
Well, I mean, it's like that.
Yes, it could be bad though. It could be.
So just a quick breakdown of the next 30 days or October. October 4th, like I said, which is this Friday, Breeze Airways is starting the first Fort Myers flight ever at the UTV airport. So we have a great celebration that we're gonna be doing and kicking off yet another route with Breeze Airways. This I think is the 2 flights a week that they do to Fort Myers will now be the 8 times a week total that they fly.
That's right, because they have Broadway as well.
Right. So this is 4th destination with Breeze, and split among those destinations 8 times a week. Spooktacular, Jeff did a great job talking about that, but please come out and join us on that. It's gonna be a really fun time. Then we talked about the next 3 here. So October 23rd, 4 p.m. we have a technical advisory committee, which we will be publishing the noise exposure map update for the first time. We'll be going through the technical updates of that map and quickly followed right into a 6:30 meeting at the Chamberlain Elementary School right here in South Burlington. Again, to go through our noise exposure map. The following night, we'll have a mirror meeting at the Winooski High School at 6:30 p.m. Both meetings will have translation services and other printed materials, as well as opening of our public comment period, will be about 30 days on our noise exposure map. So we'll be accepting both verbal and written comments on this, not just the map itself, but it's also followed by a pretty hefty document that explains where the map is and the data behind the scenes. So we'll be accepting comments on that for the next 30 days.
Starting October 23rd?
That's right, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll be collecting those. We're gonna be answering every single one of those comments like we have done in the past. Those comments will be part of our final package that we submit back to the FAA. We have to submit our noise exposure map to the FAA by the end of this calendar year, and the rules really state that the data that you use for the map and the publication year of your existing conditions also is the same year. It has to match the submittal year, so that's why December 31st is our deadline for submission. The meetings will be a open house style meeting, so we'll have many of our consultants, many of the airport staff, Larry and myself will be there explaining the map. We'll also have large poster boards of the map as well as blown in versions of the map or zoomed in versions of the map, so that you as a homeowner or property owner or renter can go exactly to where you're living and see exactly where you are located on the map. And both meetings, like I said, will be generally a mirror image to make sure that we're presenting to both communities that are extensively within the map area. And then the final piece in there is October 28th. I have the privilege of traveling with Larry down to Raleigh, North Carolina. We should check on that actually, knowing where all the flooding down there. I don't think you hit Raleigh. Yeah. But October 28th, the Airport Council International and the American Association of Airport Executives is hosting a joint noise meeting for a national conference. Larry and I have been asked to represent the airport, and I'll be making a presentation at that conference specific to our noise program. We are definitely leading the efforts in a lot of ways throughout the country. A lot of airports, especially our size, look to us for guidance on how we were able to move forward many of our programs, as well as how we continue to make sure that we have a relationship with all of our flight partners and users of the airport, specifically at a joint use military airfield. So it's going to be a great conversation. I'll be on a panel with Heathrow Airport out in London, as well as
Another little airport.
which believe it or not, Europe is looking at the United States for a lot of guidance on noise mitigation efforts, because they're not quite up to speed as the FAA is, as well as I think Chicago and Boston will be joining us. Quick snapshot of our seat projections. This is an update over last month. You can see that dash green line is actually coming down a little bit. It was higher than that purple line. The purple line was the 2008 scheduled seats way back then for the summer months. We still hit that in September and definitely in October. So we are over those 2008 seat capacity, which is great. But if you compared it to what I presented last month, those flight schedules have been slightly reduced since last month.
And the 2008 chart stops in October, but it's a similar decline, but not as significant.
Yeah, I can add that actually next time. So that's correct.
Stopped.
Yeah, I guess my objective there was just to show the summer months, the peak of summer months. But I can add the whole thing in there. Yeah, it's significantly higher. I think right now you can see our calendar year 2024 scheduled seats total is about 850,000. In 2009, it was over 1 million.
Yeah, because the dip for this year is more pronounced than most
That's
of the
right.
other years.
That's right, and it goes straight back down to really pre-pandemic 2019.
Even with the new schedule to Orlando and Tampa.
So what's interesting is that is not on here yet. So
Oh,
when I
okay, I
ran
was
this
gonna say,
report,
I would
yeah,
think it would
yeah,
not.
yeah, so it might pop up a little
Winter,
bit. Yeah, and 7 flights a week is quite a bit, especially with the 2 aircraft that Frontier are gonna be using, the A320 and A321. Those seat capacities on those planes are 180 to 230 passengers in there, so it's or seats, so it's a large plane, yeah.
Yeah.
And then our actual employment numbers, you can see we're again a little bit lower than that dashed line, if you look at just the color green. So the dashed line being projected passengers for the remaining part of the year. We have numbers through August, we're still collecting all of our September numbers. And you can see we're about 2,000 passengers off from, and I'll admit, these are my projections, these are the percentages that I used, which is about 83% load factors. So we're a little bit less in the month of August. And my hope is you'll probably see that flatten out. I'm gonna guess that September is gonna come in very similar. October is always a really great month for us, and you can see that with the historical data. So I am definitely forecasting a larger number in October. And again, these projections do not include Frontier. Of course, Frontier would only have about, what is it, a week in this particular term for the rest of the year. All right, that is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Nick. Commissioners, anything else for Nick in this director's report? Go ahead, Con.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you so a couple things. I had one, I want to take a second to applaud Jeff and his team for like all the great work, especially around like the number 5 ranking. That's really exciting. And Jeff, I think you do know I do indeed follow your socials. So thank you so much for the work on that. I'm particularly happy that we're higher ranked than Manchester Airport. I think that's fun. Some people ask what I have against New Hampshire, and I say, unfortunately, an eastern border. No, I'm kidding. Finally, Jeff, I am happy to be in the dunk tank.
I'll shoot you an email after.
Sounds good, man.
This meeting is recorded, Connor. That was bold.
Oh no, when I was on mute and when Jeff was talking about it, my partner locked eyes with me and she was like, I want to dunk you. So there we go. She's my boss.
True story. My wife was in a dunk tank a couple months ago for an event in Fairfax, and I blew $20 dunking her. And she's told me she's bringing 40.
Thanks.
All right, go ahead, Robin.
Hey everybody. Yeah, congratulations on number 5. So totally cool. Everything is just really pretty amazing. I got the word from my students who are like little spies around the airport about Frontier before I even knew it. They know everything. And so I think it's super exciting. And I have actually a couple things. As we grow and expand, especially with bigger airplanes that seat more people, we are actually filling up our big, gigantic parking lot. Is there any thoughts for overflow somewhere else that, more sort of long-term that we're anticipating might be an option for people?
Yeah, great question. Yes, our planes are full, our average load factors are high, planes are getting bigger. Today and most of our averages throughout these next couple of weeks are load factor, if you will, in the parking garage is about 80%, just over 80%. But there are moments of time, especially through these pretty challenging construction projects, that number spikes pretty high because we do remove the closed sections from that percentage calculation to give an accurate number to our passengers. One thing that we are working on and have adjusted a couple of the rates associated with the garage. We haven't increased rates, but there's some minor adjustments that we needed to make. And more importantly, truly analyze what the rate should be in the parking garage. We have not changed the parking garage rate since 2010. It's been $12 a day for 14 years, almost 15 years. I'm not looking to drastically increase it. However, we are the lowest rate rate for a parking garage, airport parking garage in this area, and that includes some of the upstate New York areas. Plattsburgh charges $10 a day. That's for surface parking lots. We charge $12 a day for our parking garage. And some of the other areas like Manchester and Portland are also higher. What I'm analyzing is what is the increase that is sufficient to not only be competitive in our area, but also to not eliminate a certain amount of parkers from the garage, but at least entice that difference. Meaning, if we increase and there is a slight decrease in parkers, but our revenue still is an increase, that to me is a very winning situation for the whole program. Slightly less parkers, increased capacity, increased total revenue for the budget itself. On the long-term planning on the long-term planning with both surface lots and other ways of parking, like short-term parking, long-term parking, different rates for parking areas, that's also part of that analysis to make sure we incorporate everything from our customer parking and crew and employee parking, which right now they have. Last summer, I think it was, or last fall, I did remove all employee and crew parking from the parking garage to make sure that passengers had the first available spots. That's been working out really nicely, and we do have capacity in our overflow surface lots. So right now we're in a good position to really do this analysis to make sure that the future is looking good.
So I've never not been able to find parking. Sometimes I think it's, you got to troll around for a few times or figure out how to get up on the roof. Which isn't always obvious to parkers. I think we're extremely reasonable. And in fact, I think we're so reasonable that people are parking there that are not going out in the airport in the wintertime. I think they're like, hey, 30 days here, yeah, inside, my car's safe, see ya.
Right.
But and we don't want her, so really who cares? But the airport parking, that's the employee parking, still seems to be working as far as like it's not filled up. It doesn't seem to be when I go past there. And then is that other parking still just Beta, or is that designated for a lot of different entities for like employee? You know what I mean? Not the employee park, but the one farther would be sort of northish.
We call that lot C. That's almost adjacent to our cell phone lot all the way out there. Most of that is Beta parking. In our contract with Beta, we've granted them just over 100 parking spaces. They pay, of course, for those parking spaces, part of the lease. And then we have small contracts with other entities. I think Vermont VIP is one of them, and some other entities that offer services and advertising at the airport here. And then the closer lot just next to the exit of our drive lane, we call that lot B. That is strictly for employees and crew, and we have a little bit of capacity in there, not too much, but a little bit. So right now we're okay in the lot C and lot B areas, but again, it really has to flow from, do we have enough capacity in our passenger lot first, then in our oversized vehicle lot, and then it goes from there. And we're working through with the rental cars too.
Yeah, it seems like with the Beta building being finished and the gigantic parking lot that they have, what I mostly see is that they're all kind of over there now. And that maybe in the future it could be kind of a park mobile kind of thing for more of a, pay as you go Instead of
Great.
having a ticket,
Yeah.
right? Something electronic, just to, potentially open up something else. But my other question is just, so we had this big Green Mountain Field Days event, which was us and not us, right? And I feel it was mostly successful. Had a lot of pain for us as viewed from, like the college and the flight school and stuff, because we were the only ones that really had to shut down operations. But I know that sort of the next big thing is for the Guard to bring back their open house, which they've talked about doing, which I thought was super successful, all but the parking issue again. From the airport sort of side, since you were definitely in a huge supporting role, security and logistics, is that something that, the airport is thinking, yeah, we liked it, it's good, let's do it again, or we'll consider it at a further at another time?
Yeah. Right now, it's mostly the former. It's mostly we loved it. We loved the partnerships. There's definitely some logistical things that we learned along the way with partners. But the overall excitement and the opportunity for, kids to adults to experience an airfield environment and some of the STEM programs that you offer, but other companies offer, it was just overwhelming. So annually, no, I don't think so. But I think every other year, this would be a really great opportunity for the region and for northern or the west coast of New England to really do, because there really isn't anything out here. You got to go down to Boston or Portsmouth on their big air show that they do.
Yeah.
So really cool opportunity. And we're also, on your other note, we're also partnering with VTang to make sure that whatever we can do to help and support their open house, which they are continuing to plan for next year, we can help, especially with the parking issues.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I thought there was a lot of positives, a lot of really good feedback that we got. And on the last meeting that we had, Michael Doobie was on there and was just saying, from my point of view, we just could have scrunched it all a little bit had it not quite so spread out, a little bit easier for the public and maybe a little bit easier for the airport and the partners. And I thought that was a great observation. So, yeah, but we got great feedback, and I thought the airport was just hugely accommodating to everything, and so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and when we started the planning process, as you might know, Robin, parking was definitely part of the conversation. And my understanding was people seemed like it went very, very well with offsite parking, shuttle buses and back and forth to the airport. I don't think I heard any negative comments on the parking situation there. And I believe the total turnout was just shy of 8,000 people over a 2-day period of time, which was amazing.
Yeah, so that was just a touch of an exaggeration. When I actually asked him how many tickets were sold, it was 3,000. So I'm not sure how we got from 3 to 8. So that was kind of interesting. The parking thing worked for shuttle people coming in, but the negative feedback we got, and we got a lot because of where we were situated, was that they couldn't get from the Valley to Heritage for the Young Eagles flights. So they had to go, they literally could not physically get there, and they had to go all the way out, find their car, drive up to Heritage and to do their Young Eagles flights, and may or may not have. So that seemed to be the only real tension just to getting the event. Yeah, that worked out absolutely great. So
Yeah, we know that.
the Young Eagles thing is, hard because they're going to be flying, and so wherever they're situated, that's always, a challenge because of, just people. There's always going to be a lot of signups and not enough places to people park right next door. But anyway, all right, awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Robin. Anything else for Nick? All right, move on to item 10, which is commissioner items. I didn't see anything in email. Does any commissioner have anything they want to discuss at this time? Go ahead, Greg.
Cute.
Oh, you're muted, Greg.
You're muted, Greg.
Sorry. Sorry about that. I have two questions, comments, both fall into the category of should we contact someone about some of the things we're doing. The first one is about the spooktacular. And Jeff mentioned that he was looking for people to go into the dunking pool. In addition to Connor, I mean, I know that that's probably enough. But since we know someone who's a commissioner and is a member of the UVM athletic department, I'm thinking that Jeff could probably contact some of his some people involved in the sporting areas and maybe get a whole handful of people, teammates. And I'm thinking in particular the swim and dive team that had just a great season last year, took the conference championships, don't really get a lot of notoriety, but boy, you say water, those guys show up.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah.
And then second, in that category of should we contact someone, is about this issue with Skinny Pancake. And first of all, thanks for I imagine Nick, who, I just brought it up at the last meeting about whether, this person contacted us. Did we ever do anything? And lo and behold, we've got the owner of the Skinny Pancake at our next meeting. That's a great responsiveness in terms of just a minor issue that was raised in the meeting. I'm just wondering if it's worthwhile to close that circle by contacting the person that sent that email. I don't really know her name. I just know that she was the person that really brought this to our attention. She probably has no idea whether we followed up. And it might be worthwhile to try to contact that person. And that's just good, again, sort of good PR by all of us, sort of saying, look, this person sent a email to the administrative staff and commissioners, and I got some action done. I got a response. I just think that might be worthwhile.
Yeah, that's great. I think we absolutely can do that and follow up with her again, and we can even link some of these meeting recordings over to her. And we have on a more broader scale, not just with that particular email, but some of our other emails, and I would say even some of our persistent social media comments. We have invited folks in. We've given them tours and explained some of the situations because we can't answer all of them, of course, but honestly, it helped out tremendously knowing what the broader picture was and the additional comments are. That, as I tell the team a lot of times, there's always more to the story and understanding that story from both perspectives. Really helped, and I think Jeff said even on that particular situation, they saw each other and hugged. No. It definitely added a way to, like you said, Greg, a really great PR commitment and commitment to our passengers.
If I could also add, you'll probably see it on social media. We're starting to engage a little bit more. It's really been the process that will just allow people to post and comment. And so if we see something that's just really either egregious or not accurate or warrants a thoughtful response, we're starting to do those more frequently. And I think it's been helpful.
Are the responses posted as well for other people to read? Or are they just,
It's somebody.
so it's not just directed to the person
Correct.
who made the comment? Well, that's important.
Yeah, we rarely would respond on a direct message.
Okay.
One, because there's public entity conversation and rules in there, but yeah. unless it was a personal matter or lawsuit matter.
A good example is, it's interesting how, especially on social media, somebody will make a comment and then it'll just snowball on that particular issue. So a few nights ago, it was over the observation tower. Shame on us for not allowing people in the public to visit the observation tower. People were relying on memory, so I responded saying, hey, have you seen Project Next? Here's a couple photos. And that kind of dispelled that. So that's a small example.
Yeah, and really good articles out to Vermont Digger just put out an article about that as we're looking at the new observation tower right there.
Commissioners, anything else? And I believe, oh yeah, follow-up items, any items coming out of this meeting that we would like the airport staff to follow up on? Other than people for the dunk tank?
Yeah, call me.
All right, then I'd be willing to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Yes, with Hal, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Connor. All those in favor, so I'm saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks.